My name's Ellie, and I'm 24. Life's a messy little dance, isn't it? One minute you're laughing, the next you're crying into a bowl of cereal at 2 a.m., wondering how you ended up alone with nothing but soggy flakes and regrets. This is my story, about love, family, and the stupid things we say that turn everything upside down. It starts with a joke I made to my boyfriend, Ryan. I joked that my ex was meaner in bed. He got offended and dumped me. Yeah, not my finest moment. But what happened after? That's where the real chaos and the real me came out. I guess I should back up a little. I'm not the kind of girl who plans her life out on a spreadsheet. I've always been more of a let's see where this goes type. Messy hair, chipped nail polish, and a laugh that's too loud for quiet rooms. I grew up in a small house 2 streets over from my mom and my older sister, Tara. It's one of those neighborhoods where everyone knows your business, whether you like it or not. Mom's the kind of woman who'd knit you a sweater and then guilt you into wearing it. And Tara, well, she's the golden child who somehow always knows better. Me, I'm the wild card, the one who trips over her own feet but keeps running anyway. Ryan was different. We'd been together for 8 months, and he was the first guy who didn't make me feel like I had to apologize for being myself. He's 26, with dark hair that flops over his forehead and a smile that could melt ice. We met at a coffee shop when I spilled my latte all over his shoes. Classic Ellie move. Instead of getting mad, he laughed and said, "Guess you owe me a coffee now." That was it. We clicked. He liked my chaos, and I liked his calm. We'd spend nights cooking terrible dinners, watching old movies, or just talking about nothing. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. So that night, the night of the joke, we were at my place. I'd made lasagna, which was a miracle because I usually burn water. The kitchen smelled like garlic and tomato sauce, and we were halfway through our plates, laughing about something dumb he'd said at work. I don't even know why I said it. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was the comfort of the moment, but it slipped out. You know, my ex was meaner in bed. I grinned, expecting him to roll his eyes or fire back with something witty. That's how we were, always teasing, always bouncing off each other. But his fork stopped midair, and his face changed. Not the playful red I was used to when I'd embarrassed him, but a deep, angry flush. "What's that supposed to mean?" he asked, voice low. I laughed, nervous, trying to brush it off. "Oh, come on, it's just a joke. You're way better than Jake ever was." But he didn't laugh. He didn't even look at me. He just stared at his plate, jaw tight, like I'd stabbed him with my words. "Ryan, seriously, it's nothing," I said, reaching for his hand. He pulled away. "You're still hung up on him, aren't you?" he said, and I froze. Hung up on Jake? The guy who'd made me feel small every day we were together? No. Never. But before I could explain, he was on his feet, grabbing his jacket. "I need to go," he muttered, and the door slammed behind him. I sat there, lasagna cooling, wine glass still half full, replaying it in my head. How did we get here? It was just a stupid joke. I didn't mean it like that. Jake wasn't even a memory I wanted to keep. He was a shadow I'd spent years shaking off. But Ryan didn't know that, because I'd never told him the whole story. And now he was gone, and I was alone, the silence pressing in like a weight. I couldn't lift. Then my phone buzzed on the table. "Mom. Ellie, why'd I just see Ryan's car peel out? What's going on?" Perfect. Just what I needed. Family in the mix. This was about to get a whole lot messier. Ryan didn't just dump me. He stormed out mid-dinner, leaving his half-eaten lasagna and my dignity on the table. The door slammed, so hard the walls shook, and I just sat there, fork in hand, staring at the mess of noodles and sauce like it could explain what just happened. I thought he'd laugh. Our whole relationship was built on dumb banter, quick jabs, and sarcastic one-liners. We'd tease each other about everything. my terrible cooking, his obsession with baseball stats, the way I'd hog the blankets at night. But this time, his face went red, then cold, like a switch flipped. "You're still hung up on him," he'd said, voice sharp as a knife. And that was it. Done. No chance to explain, no room for me to breathe. Just gone. I replayed it over and over, the words looping in my head like a broken record. My ex was meaner in bed. It was stupid, careless, but I didn't mean it the way he took it. Jake wasn't some lingering flame I couldn't let go of. He was a nightmare I'd fought to forget. Mean didn't even cover it. He was cruel, controlling, the kind of guy who'd pick apart everything I did until I didn't recognize myself. The way I dressed, the way I laughed, even the way I slept. He had a critique for it all. 2 years with him left me hollowed out, and I'd spent the last 3 rebuilding. Ryan didn't know that, though. I'd kept it light with him, never dug into the ugly parts. Maybe that was my mistake. The lasagna sat there, congealing, the cheese hardening into a sad little crust. I pushed my plate away, the smell of garlic turning my stomach. The apartment felt too quiet without him, without his dumb laugh, or the way he'd hum off key while doing dishes. I wanted to call him, to say, "Come back, I didn't mean it like that," but my hands wouldn't move. What would I even say? Sorry I made a bad joke. It wasn't just the joke. He'd looked at me like I'd betrayed him, like I'd been lying to him for months. And maybe, in a way, I had. Not about Jake, but about me. I'd let him think I was this carefree girl who didn't carry scars, when really I was still figuring out how to wear them. I don't know how long I sat there, minutes, maybe an hour, before my phone buzzed on the counter. The screen lit up with Mom's name, and my heart sank. "Ellie, what's going on? I just saw Ryan's car peel out of the driveway like he's auditioning for a car chase movie." Her voice was all concern, but I could hear the edge of judgment underneath it. Of course she'd seen. Her house is 2 streets over, and she's got a 6th sense for drama, especially mine. "It's nothing," I lied, my voice cracking. "Just a fight." She didn't buy it. "I'm coming over," she said, and before I could protest, the line went dead. Great. Now the family's involved. I dropped my head into my hands, the weight of it all crashing down. Ryan was gone, my dinner was ruined, and Mom was on her. Way to dissect my life like it was one of her knitting projects, pulling at every loose thread until it unraveled completely. I could already hear her. "What did you do this time, Ellie?" She'd say it soft, like she was trying to help, but it'd sting anyway. And Tara would probably tag along, smirking like she always does, ready to play the perfect sister who never screws up. I didn't want them here, picking at me when I was already raw, but I didn't have the energy to stop it. The joke was supposed to be a throwaway line, a little spark of humor to keep the night warm. Instead, it had burned everything down, and now the ashes were about to get sifted through by the 2 people who knew exactly how to make me feel smaller than I already did. Mom showed up 10 minutes later with my older sister Tara in tow. The doorbell rang, sharp and insistent, cutting through the haze I'd been sitting in since Ryan left. I opened the door, and there they were. Mom with her worried frown, Tara with that half smirk she always wears when she thinks I've messed up again. They live 2 streets over, close enough to swoop in like vultures whenever my life starts smoking. "What did you do this time, Ellie?" Tara asked, stepping inside without waiting for an invite. Her tone was light, teasing, but it landed like a punch. Mom followed, quieter, her eyes scanning the room, the cold lasagna, the empty wine glass, the chair Ryan had left askew. "I didn't do anything," I said, crossing my arms. It was a lie, and they knew it. Mom set her purse down on the counter, slow and deliberate, like she was preparing for battle. "Ellie, I saw Ryan's car tear out of here. What happened? Her voice was soft, but it had that edge, half concern, half lecture. I didn't want to tell them. I didn't want their pity or their opinions, but the words slipped out anyway. I made a dumb joke. He took it the wrong way and left. Tara snorted, leaning against the wall. What kind of joke makes a guy storm out? Mid-lasagna? That's commitment-level food. I glared at her. It's not funny, Tara. But she just raised an eyebrow, waiting. Mom stepped closer, her hands twisting together like they always do when she's nervous. What did you say, honey? She pressed. I sighed, the fight draining out of me. I said my ex was meaner in bed. He thought I meant I missed Jake, or something. Tara laughed, a sharp, barking sound that made me flinch. Oh, Ellie, you're a disaster, she said, shaking her head. Mom didn't laugh. She just looked at me, her face tightening. That's not funny, Mom said, and then it started. You can't keep pushing people away like this, Ellie. You're 24. You need to grow up. Stop with these reckless little games. Her words hit like stones, each one heavier than the last. I felt my chest tighten, heat rising in my face. I'm not pushing anyone away, I snapped. It was a joke, Mom. I didn't mean it like that. But she kept going, her voice rising. You always do this. Say things without thinking. Act like it's all fine. Ryan's a good guy. You can't just throw that away. Throw it away? I shouted, stepping toward her. He left me, not the other way around. And maybe if you didn't treat me like a screw-up all the time, I'd stop feeling like one. Tara jumped in then, siding with Mom like she always does. Come on, Ellie, don't yell at her. You're the one who tanked your relationship over a dumb line. I turned on her, tears prickling my eyes. Oh, perfect, Tara weighs in. You don't get it. You never have. You both act like I'm some broken thing you need to fix. It escalated fast, years of baggage spilling out like a dam breaking. Mom yelling about my reckless choices, me screaming that they never listened, Tara trying to play peacemaker but making it worse. The kitchen turned into a war zone, voices overlapping, accusations flying, the lasagna sitting there like a silent witness to our chaos. I was crying by the end, hot tears streaking down my face, and they were too. Mom's hands shaking, Tara's smirk gone. We stood there panting, the air thick with everything we'd never said. Then Mom's voice broke through, small and trembling. We just don't want you to end up like Jake. I froze, my breath catching. What? She looked away, wiping her eyes, and Tara shifted, uncomfortable. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Mom swallowed hard, her gaze dropping to the floor. We don't want you stuck with someone like him again. The room went quiet, and I felt the ground shift under me. They knew something about Jake, something I thought I'd hidden. And now, I needed to know what. The silence after Mom's words hung heavy, like the air before a storm. We just don't want you to end up like Jake. It echoed in my head, sharp and confusing, cutting through the fog of our fight. I stared at her, my tears still wet on my cheeks, my hands trembling at my sides. What do you mean? I asked again, louder this time, my voice cracking. Mom wouldn't meet my eyes. She turned to the sink, grabbing a dish towel like it could shield her from the moment. Tara shifted on her feet, arms crossed tight, looking anywhere but at me. The kitchen felt smaller, the walls closing in, the cold lasagna a forgotten lump on the table. Mom, I said, stepping closer. What do you know about Jake? She twisted the towel in her hands, her knuckles white. It's nothing, Ellie, she mumbled, but her voice shook. It's not nothing, I snapped, the anger flaring back up. You can't just say that and shut down. Tell me. Tara finally spoke, her tone softer than before. Ellie, calm down. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal? I cut her off, turning to her. You're both acting like you've got some secret about my life. What is it? Mom sighed, deep and heavy, and finally looked at me. Her eyes were red, glistening. I heard him once, she said, so quiet I almost missed it. Heard him what? I pressed, my heart pounding. She swallowed, her hands dropping the towel onto the counter. It was a couple years ago. You thought I wasn't home. I'd gone out to the store, but I forgot my wallet and came back. I heard him through the door, yelling at you, calling, you useless, saying you couldn't do anything right. My stomach dropped, a cold wave washing over me. I remembered that day, Jake tearing into me because I'd burned dinner, his voice like a hammer, me shrinking smaller with every word. I didn't say anything, Mom went on, her voice breaking. I stood there listening, and I wanted to barge in, but I didn't know how. You never told me about him, Ellie. I thought you'd push me away if I brought it up. I couldn't speak. My throat was tight, my mind racing back to those years with Jake, hiding the fights, the insults, the way he'd twist everything until I doubted myself. I'd thought I'd kept it locked away, buried where no one could. See? Then Tara spoke, her voice low, almost guilty. I saw something too. I turned to her, stunned. What? She hesitated, then uncrossed her arms, her hands fidgeting. One time, when you came over after you'd been with him, you were wearing that long-sleeve shirt, even though it was summer. I saw bruises on your wrist when you reached for something. You pulled the sleeve down fast, but I saw. My breath hitched. I remembered that too. Purple marks from where he'd grabbed me, hard, because I'd dared to argue back. I'd lied to myself that it wasn't a big deal, that I could handle it. They never said anything, Tara added, glancing at Mom. We didn't know how to help without making it worse. I sank into a chair, my legs weak, my head spinning. All this time I'd felt so alone in that nightmare, convinced one saw, no one cared. But they had. They'd been watching, scared for me, and I'd been too ashamed to let them in. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered, tears spilling again. Mom sat across from me, reaching for my hand. We thought you'd hate us, she said. We were terrified you'd stay with him to prove us wrong. I squeezed her hand, then Tara's as she sat beside me. The joke, I said, my voice raw. It wasn't about missing Jake. It was about how I survived him, how I'm better now. Mom nodded, tears falling, and Tara gave me a small, sad smile. We sat there, the three of us, talking, really talking, for the first time in years. It was messy, painful, a wound ripped open and stitched back together. But Ryan's face flashed, in my mind. I wasn't done fixing things yet. The next morning, I woke up with a knot in my chest, the weight of everything pressing down. Ryan's exit, the fight with Mom and Tara, the truth they'd spilled about Jake. My apartment was still a mess. Lasagna dishes in the sink, wine glasses on the counter, the air stale with yesterday's chaos. But after last night's tears and talks, something felt different, clearer. I couldn't let Ryan go without him knowing the real me, not the Ellie who hid behind jokes, but the one who'd clawed her way out of a dark place. So I grabbed a pen, a sheet of paper, and started writing. No plan, just words, everything I'd never said. I wrote about Jake, how he'd chipped away at me, how meaner in bed wasn't a compliment, but a scar I'd turned into a laugh. I wrote about Mom hearing him through the door, Tara spotting those bruises, how they'd carried that worry silently because they loved me. I told him the joke was my dumb way of saying I'd survived worse than him, that he was the good I'd stumbled into after years of bad. It was messy, smudged with tears, but it was honest. I folded it, drove to his place, and stood at his door, heart hammering, letter clutched tight. He opened it, hair messy, eyes tired, like he hadn't slept either. "Ellie," he said, surprised. Stepping back, I held out the letter, my voice shaky. "Just read it. Please." He took it, hesitated, then sat on his couch, unfolding the paper. I stood there, watching his face, his brow furrowing, his jaw tightening, then softening. Minutes stretched into forever, the silence deafening. When he finished, he looked up, eyes glistening. "You're an idiot," he said, but a smile tugged at his lips. "I thought you were comparing me to him." I laughed, a sob catching in my throat. "Never. You're nothing like him." He stood, crossed the room, and pulled me into his arms. "I'm sorry I ran," he whispered into my hair. "I should have listened." I shook my head against his chest. "I should have told you sooner." We stayed like that, laughing through tears, then kissing, soft at first, then desperate, like we'd almost lost this. "You're stuck with me now," he said, grinning. "Good," I shot back, and it felt like breathing again. A week later, we were at Mom's for dinner, Ryan's idea, not mine. I'd warned him. "They're intense. You saw them in action." He just shrugged. "I can handle it." The table was set with her famous roast chicken, Tara smirking across from me, Mom fussing over plates. It was loud, chaotic. Mom asking Ryan a million questions, Tara teasing me about the lasagna disaster. But it was warm, too, the kind of mess that felt like home. Ryan fit right in, laughing at Tara's jabs, charming Mom with his quiet way. I watched him, my chest swelling with something I hadn't felt in years. Safety. Then Mom stood, glass in hand, her eyes shining. "To Ellie," she said, voice steady. "Who's tougher than she knows?" Tara raised her glass, winking at me, and Ryan squeezed my hand under the table. "To Ellie," he echoed, his smile soft. I blinked back tears, lifting my glass, the clink of it ringing through the room. For once, I didn't feel like the screw-up, the wild card, the girl, running from her past. I felt seen. By Mom, who'd heard too much. By Tara, who'd seen too much. By Ryan, who'd stayed despite it all. As we ate, laughed, and argued over dessert, I leaned back in my chair, the chatter washing over me. The joke that broke us had built something better, stronger. I wasn't just surviving anymore, piecing myself together in the dark. I was home, surrounded by people who'd caught me when I didn't even know I was falling. And Ryan? He leaned over, whispering, "You're still a terrible cook." And I shoved him, laughing. Yeah, this was it. Messy, loud, and mine. Subscribe to our channel for powerful, real stories that touch your heart. Join a community where emotions run deep and every story brings a new perspective. Don't miss out. Hit that bell for weekly updates.